Welcome back, everybody, to the St. Louis Cardinals franchise on MLB The Show 24. We've got an offseason today. We just finished year 3, and we have 2 consecutive years of being knocked out of the postseason in the wild card round. We only scored 4 runs in the 3 games against the Reds, and that's how our season ends. The Phillies go on to win the World Series this season. How about this? We got Edmundo Sosa as World Series MVP. You never know who it's going to be. In this franchise, I think we've done a really good job of plugging up some of the gaps on this team and getting them competitive without tearing the team down completely. We still have Nolan Arenado, and he's coming off a very good age 34 season. We still have players such as Jordan Walker, who have played great, Lars Nootbaar, Brendan Donovan, and Wilson Contreras. The main thing I'm looking at here in the offseason is shortstop. Are we going to try to bring back Tommy Edman? That's not my favorite idea. Is there somebody out there we could bring in? Center field and shortstop have been 2 of the key positions we've talked about lately, having young players like Victor Scott and Mason Wynn, but the leaps these 2 have taken have been more gradual. We do not have players that are solidifying these spots for years to come. I'm very much open to the idea of Scott becoming a platoon player, and, maybe we have another outfielder and we're just playing the hot hand, and I'm okay using our bench. And a guy being on the bench doesn't mean he's never going to play. But Scott had started the season super hot, and by the end of it finishes with kind of middling numbers here. This slash line isn't all that impressive, and consider he started off one of the best players in baseball. He was an all-star favorite for much of the first half. What happens next year if he doesn't have a stretch of hitting 300 for 6 weeks? You could be looking at maybe a 200 hitter, 260 on base, and then you're going to wish you had someone to push for playing time. Still a good player, still a growing player too, but center field is not set in stone. I kind of feel some renewed energy here in this series. Got back to it in the last few days, and I enjoyed playing the postseason games. I find those to be really fun to play, but the fact that we still haven't won any of those series has me really wanting to get this team on the right track. So no major league players for us end up retiring this season. Not too many big names really at all. Hey, Clayton Kershaw ends up making it to the Hall of Fame though. Looks like he's calling it a career. Shortstop's going to be that big domino this year, but one thing to remember is Orelvis Martinez is going to be at the bigs this year. He no longer has options available, and he's not going to be somebody we waive. And he's 25. Time to see what he's got. He can play third. He can play short. If Nolan's playing well, shortstop might be a spot for him to grab playing time. And then the other thing I'm debating is if we can't make a major move at short, is it worth it to plug this gap with a Tommy Edman level player? Just because, we're trying to be competitive. We don't want to be, rebuilding. But if we leave that available, then there's the chance that Mason Wynn or Elvis Martinez could take a big leap. It's harder for them to do that if they're not actually seeing the field. Mason Wynn this last year hit .239 with about a 300 on base, and I've enjoyed playing with him. He hits the ball pretty hard. I think he's a fun player. But we're in a tough position where it can be hard to justify just letting players figure it out when you might be able to find a free agent that makes it less of an issue. So we've got around $90 million now in available budget, and I'm not going to look to bring back Tommy Edman right now. Sonny Gray, we've talked about pitcher the entire series. I'm already over-prepared to bring in new arms. Michael Kopech and Matt Moore, though, are free agents. Matt Moore down to a 73 overall. He's pitched so well recently. This may fall off. He's due for regression. He's due for retirement even. He's 37 years old. But maybe we could bring him back on a 1 year. I'm even open to bringing back Kopech, even if he's just a serviceable player. Yeah, I'll offer Kopech a $2 million contract. That's fine. Matt Moore is going to be a little bit more. He has pitched better, so $3.2 million. I'm going to offer 3.3. I don't think I'll make any coaching changes. I feel like we've done pretty well developing players since adding this staff. The hitting coach does help with power and plate vision along with clutch. And those are kind of the things I wanted to emphasize for a lot of the players that need developing. So we're going to stick with the current group. Ryan Helsley exercises the $13.6 million option, so he's going to stick around. All right, make sure I don't miss anybody this year and have to, trade for somebody after losing them. I think we got them all offered. And then we have a bunch of arbitration-eligible players, and the top of the list has Nolan Gorman. So right now, contract-wise, he'd like $5.2 million. He is still under team control for 2 years. I'm still going with the year-by-year approach, trying to maximize our chances of winning a title here this season and next. I'll offer him 5.4. Jordan Walker wants a little bit less, $4.1 million seems pretty reasonable, and he still has a lot of team control. He has 3 years. Brendan Donovan, meanwhile, only has 1, and he's become a pretty key player for me in this series. He always seems to be on base. He's a very good hitter. He can even hit for power when we need him to. And he plays all over the field. We'll offer him $4 million. Mason Miller has 3 years of team control, and he's looking at 2.3, decent reliever money at this stage. We're probably going to let Christian Pache go. I did offer a contract to Joe Adell, but Pache wants even more, and I just don't think there's a lot of upside with his bat. I think we have enough defense with Victor Scott. Then we got Ivan Herrera as one of our last players here, still 3 years of team control. So I offered to nearly everybody here, but not to Pache or Zach Thompson. I no longer have options available on Thompson, only 2 years of team control, coming off a down year, and I just have other lefties that I like more. So that should leave us, if everybody signs, then about $50 million, which you can definitely do some damage with. We also got to get prepared for the Rule 5 draft, and one easy decision right off the bat. We were going to do this anyway. Dylan Lesko, welcome to the 40-man roster. He's coming with us to spring training this year. We should also have some room for Jeremiah Jackson, a 73 overall shortstop. And Leonardo Bernal is a little too good to just let go in the Rule 5 draft. So 3 catchers on the 40-man. Now check this out. We talked about shortstop being one of the top priorities. The number 1 player in this class for free agency is Ha-Sung Kim. Do we make a play here? Over $20 million a year. It sure looks like we can handle that. But coming off a down year, he is a very high overall player. He does command a high WAR. 8 WAR in 2025. You're probably not getting elite offense from him, but this is a defense-first position, and Kim can certainly play some short. And after him, it's the Tommy Edman experience all over again. So, do we offer a big deal to the 31-year-old Ha-Sung Kim is the next big question. The big contracts we'd have coming up internally would be Luis Robert. We know that would be a big deal, but nothing else seems massive in the next calendar year. I like a couple of these quirks too. Excels when hitting with 2 strikes, can hit pitches outside the strike zone. 2023 Gold Glover, one-time All-Star. There's also Nico Horner, who's commanding a big contract. He can play short, but his arm more suited to second base. So it really comes down to, do you want to give a 31-year-old shortstop a 6-year deal? Because that's what it would take. I'm going to come back to that one, but here's an easy decision for me. We have a lot of money available right now. I think we can actually chase one of these top relievers. I'm not always a fan of going with the same 5 or 6 year offers the CPU does, so I'm cool going shorter term, but for more money. We're going to offer 22 over 2 to Brian Abreu, who's had very good years in this series. Now, he wants to be a closer, wouldn't be with us, but he could be a high leverage guy still. And if Helsley has more issues this coming year, then we'd have an option there. And if Abreu signed for multiple years, that would overlap like Helsley's contract year being this coming season. So it would help plug a potential problem there. Oh, we'd also have to give up a pick to sign Ha-Sung Kim, which at this stage we'd probably be willing to give up a second rounder again. I'd like to make a competitive offer for Kim, and maybe I don't want to go 6 years like San Diego is. 90 over 4 does put our offer over theirs. And if we did that, now our pending offers are close to 60. We'd basically be at capacity. You know, what if we didn't tackle this problem in free agency at all and we looked to the trade market? Geraldo Perdomo is a lot younger at 27 with really good contact and still really impressive defense. He's been a pretty valuable player. And going through these rosters, he does seem to be perhaps the best fit to acquire. He has 1 year of team control, so then we'd have to commit to, obviously, an extension or a contract. But do I really want to give up as much as they're asking? Yeah, the more I think about it, I mean, Perdomo hits for a high average, has an on-base very similar to Brendan Donovan. With two guys like that in the lineup, you could have RBI chances galore for the middle of this order. But we've got to be willing to give up players of value if we're to try to get someone on that level. He's a 27-year-old shortstop that should be worth a very big contract in a year's time. And we have not developed anything good enough at shortstop to say that we have a better alternative. Just hasn't worked out that way yet for Mason Wynn. So I don't want to give up Daryl Moreno. He's still our best hitting prospect and someone with a very high ceiling. But if I'm going to give up a valuable prospect, I think Steve Padilla wouldn't be a bad option. We have really good outfielders in the corners especially. His defense is a ways away from helping us. The issue is he is our best outfield prospect. They like Steve Padilla about as much as they like Steve Castilla. So either one would be a really good starting point. And with Castilla, I do think like his pitching clutch is a ways off of what I'd like. And if you just look at the hit per 9, K per 9, walk per 9, that combo is all better for Lesko. Castilla has the really high stamina. If that were more normalized, maybe he's more of a lower 70 overall guy. There is Benny Matsumoto, who is further away, but he has an extremely high ceiling, and he's been one of the highest risers in the series. Matsumoto is the fastest developing player we've had in the whole franchise. So it wouldn't shock me to see him by the end of the year pushing closer to 80 overall. Ultimately, I think I want to include Padilla in this deal. The issue here is finding other players that fit with the deal and closing this gap. We have a couple high potential players who are really young, but they're not actually, seen as that valuable right now. Augustin Garcia has 91 potential, but he's not going to be MLB ready for years. Ultimately, they like Padilla, but they do like Castilla more, and I think making a deal that includes him is just going to be easier. It is not easy for me to part ways with prospects when I've been building this team with the idea they would be kind of the centerpieces of the series. But I think this move is ultimately what's right for the team. We are going to trade away the number 1 pick of the series for us, Steve Castilla. We're also including first baseman Thomas Morse, who honestly could play for them immediately. I don't know what they're going to do at first base. Maybe they sign somebody in free agency, but they don't have much there at all. And then, because we're going to solve shortstop, we hope with this move, we still have Mason Wynn. Jeremiah Jackson will be included in this deal, and that will get it done. We have a new shortstop. Geraldo Perdomo is added to the team, and I like this move because he's only 27 years old. And one thing we saw last year slip was our team batting average and our on base. we were still a pretty good home run hitting team, and I don't think that ability's going anywhere. But I wanted to get somebody that could be a positive force on the offense, and I didn't think we'd end up with anything nearly as impactful as Perdomo's, projected like 350 plus on base, combined with very good defensive play. So that definitely hurts, the chances of Mason Wynn making a serious impact in here, especially because I don't think that he's going to have the offensive production to warrant a move to third base at all. But we're trying to win a title, and this gets us closer. I spent a lot of time figuring out what I would do there. I did consider, obviously, signing Ha-Sung Kim, but there's no guarantee that would have worked. Would have had to give up a pick. Instead, now we trade away some players that we can hopefully replenish, saving that second-round pick. So then I'm wondering, do we need to add maybe a bench outfielder that's a bit more impactful than Norris Sullivan and give us a legitimate option if Victor Scott doesn't play better? The player who immediately caught my attention was Jorge Soler, but he's really DH only. He's not actually going to play in the outfield. A Harrison Bader reunion probably won't be like the most exciting idea, but he does have great defense and does have better hitting ratings than Christian Pache. Man, could it potentially make sense to bring him back? He left for 1 year, did pretty well in Seattle, and now he's a free agent all over again. Dylan Carlson. What stands out to me here with Carlson, he had 9 homers, more than he's been hitting recently with St. Louis. And he did that in 56 games. Like, it was a really good year for him. His slugging was up over 100 points. His production was impressive. And that 1.4 WAR, I mean, that's in just a third of a season. And he got good development. I don't want to go big money long term for this situation. And that's what is going to be the case for most of these guys that are above. I actually think this makes a lot of sense. I have offered a contract to Dylan Carlson. I'm also curious about maybe offering to Jorge Soler to have that bench power bat. Do we have enough spots on the bench? Ivan Herrera is going to have one of those. Mason Wynn is your backup shortstop. And then consider the possibility of Carlson taking over Norris Sullivan's place. Then there is an opening. You can have a speedy guy, a utility man, or a power bat. And Soler's not going to command a massive contract either. I'm not going to lie. I'll say it's a platoon role. We'll offer more than the Giants. So we've got offers out there now for Brian Abreu, Jorge Soler, Dylan Carlson. Now that we're in this spot, I think I'm okay going longer term on Abreu, because now I know I'm not offering to Ha-Sung Kim. Might have to offer, a decent bit more, because it's not going to be for the closing role, at least not right now. But we can certainly top Seattle's offer. Dalton Varsho signs a big 6-year deal heading to the Dodgers. So the Diamondbacks lose 1. We got our trade here of Geraldo Perdomo. I'm interested in your thoughts on this trade. I know that I haven't typically made moves like this, giving up our number 1 player in a draft like that. Willy Adames is traded for the Brewers. Okay. Give him back to the Rays, because that's where he was originally. Weird. Ha-Sung Kim to the champion Phillies. I was not matching that. 9 years, $175 million, taking him to the age of 40. Adolis Garcia, 5 years, $58 million. Free agency's actually off to a fun start. And look who's signed back in a hurry. He's back, everybody. Only 1 year away. Dylan Carlson with a decent raise, $7 million. We'll see what the future holds. Oh, come on, Brian. I gave you a very strong offer. 5 years, 44.5. You can't say I didn't offer him a good deal. I was not just trying to go $1 million over. What are y'all doing with Adley? I love the show, but dude, the team management and AI in this area of the game, I know he has 1 year of team control, but just sign Adley then. You can't tell me you couldn't get a deal done. It's easy to get contracts done in this game. The Phillies also signed Tariq Skubal, by the way. 6 years, $128 million. So they already made two of the biggest pitching additions. Awesome. And while I was waiting for Brian Abreu to make his decision, like the top 5 relievers sign deals. So I'm going to give an offer then to Phil Maton. He's had some really good seasons lately. I love that high pitching clutch. And it wouldn't hurt to have at least one more guy there. Only one team's offering, so we're going to give a stronger offer than Miami will. And we've signed Phil Maton to a deal. He's our second highest rated relief pitcher now. And I'm pretty happy with our 40-man roster right now. We have a couple spots available if we want to do anything in the Rule 5. The Brewers have acquired Jake Berger. All right, so out goes Adames, in comes Berger. I forgot I still had to offer Geraldo Perdomo arbitration and a deal. And right now he wants $5.2 million, which would just be for this year. He's wanting a bit more if we want to stretch it into his free agent years. And you know what? We have a lot of budget available right now. So I kind of like the idea of getting this started a little bit earlier, maybe even front-loading this. He's got the kind of skill set that is easier to trust, like these on bases, 2022, that's a real life year. But in game, this stuff has been very sticky. I'd be very comfortable giving him like a 5-year contract to age 32 with a front-loaded structure. Because ultimately, this coming year, we have a lot of room and not a lot of places to put it because we have players. I'm going to offer that. And if he doesn't like it for some reason, I guess we'll offer arbitration. Nico Horner, that's a big deal going to the Marlins. $28 million a year at second base. David Peterson to the Diamondbacks. Ryan Jeffers signs a big deal with Kansas City. Minnesota had offered him the qualifying offer as well. So he goes to a rival while Randy Arozarena's off to the Angels. And we have signed Jorge Soler. Who wouldn't like a little extra power here or there? All right, another trade. The Diamondbacks get Andres Munoz from the Mariners. Okay. I like seeing these updates pop up. Dustin May to the Nats. Okay, what's going on here? The Phillies trade for Kodai Senga. They're just getting all the pitchers this offseason. The Angels go and trade for Dansby Swanson with 3 years left on his deal. And it looks like the Cubs are kind of accepting that as a salary dump mainly. Maybe Savali still got a little in the tank. Then the Astros, they trade for Josh Naylor. We love that because that takes away a power bat from their lineup. And now we got the draft lottery. We are not going to be a part of it as we're going to pick at 24. And a couple things I wanted to change with the series going forward. So obviously in the very beginning, as the Mets do land the number 1 pick, good for them. But the draft now is not a huge part of the series, not as much as it was in the beginning. We've had back-to-back playoff seasons. We're picking in the 20s again. I'm probably not going to talk draft a lot in episodes until close to the draft. I've been thinking a lot about how I want to tackle this series, as we are kind of what I would view in the second half. I know that MLB 25 isn't coming out for a very long time. I've talked about, though, how I don't want to necessarily do this series for 12 months the way I did the A's franchise. I would like to have this all wrapped up sometime in the fall, ideally around the end of the World Series in real life. Baseball content, historically, for me, every series I've done, interest and viewership drops around football season. And last year I didn't get to football until like the new year. So I've already been doing the Miami series. I don't know what's going to come, afterwards, how long that runs, if I do anything on Madden. But ultimately, I am not intending to run this series for 12 months. And there will be some changes coming up. For instance, I feel like with the team not changing a lot, unless we simulate and for whatever reason, things are really different for this team, I feel like we can go through the regular season a lot faster and focus primarily on the new players we've added, the players that are developing or playing the best and having the best breakout seasons, and really getting through those first handful of months rather quickly. I don't think we have to grind the way we have in prior years. And I think especially when you've had, 2 90-plus win seasons, we've gone and won the division now. I don't know why it says we lost the NLDS. That is incorrect. But in my head, it's like, all right, we've already raised the bar of success in the series, so why would we spend a ton of time on lesser achievements? We'll see how it all goes, and I'll be getting feedback, and I'll adjust along the way, but I do anticipate, like year 4, us getting off to a pretty fast start and focusing on the new stories, the new players, and trying to get back to the postseason ultimately. It's the Rule 5 draft, and there are a handful of players getting taken, but nobody from our system. Landon Sims, we had a lot of time with him in the A's franchise. I don't anticipate making a pick, and we do not. Whoa, what is this? The Twins have acquired O'Neal Cruz for Byron Buxton and Brooks Lee. So a huge change for the Pirates. We're going to see them, obviously, with 2 new faces. They want Brooks Lee to be their new shortstop. Looks like his development hasn't been great in this series. And then a 33-year-old Byron Buxton. Wow. Man, Tommy's still going to get paid. He might be off to Colorado to boost those home run numbers. Not many changes for us this year, though. I didn't really see the need. And we're waiting to see if Perdomo takes this 5-year deal. Marcus Semien is acquired now. There's trades going on all over the place. The Rockies want to offer us one. Jordan Beck for Jason McNeil and Thomas Sajazi. That's actually not the worst idea. He's a B potential outfielder. We don't have a lot of outfield depth. He's 25. I don't know. Once a player's like 25, 26... I want to see them be good enough to get to the bigs, and I don't know if Beck would be there for us. I'm going to decline that one, but it wasn't a bad idea. Tommy Edman to the Rockies. He ultimately gets paid a good bit. 5 years, $57.5 million. And the Royals are making some signings. They get Yandy Diaz and Alec Bohm. Trevor Rogers to the White Sox. Jesus Luzardo to the Rangers. Has Perdomo accepted yet? He hasn't. I might even increase this deal. And obviously that player option is always something that can sweeten the deal. 5 years, $80 million with a player option is my new offer. Offer accepted. So Perdomo's going to get paid $20 million this year while we have that extra space. And then it gets easier to fit that in as time passes. I'm not sure if we're going to need that room, but it won't hurt. And if we're not going to use all this space, then it's a good way to use some of it. And we've reached spring training. The team has not been changed dramatically. But now our depth is a little bit different. We've had this deep pitching prospect group for a long time, but now we've had Hentz make it to the majors. Lesko is going to be counted on there. And we traded away Steve Castilla. So now Benny Matsumoto, I'm not saying if there's an injury, he's the next guy up. But he's easily the most intriguing pitching prospect there. One guy I held on to because now, we're an injury away from having to do something. I've held on to Michael McGreevy. Could he be serviceable? Maybe. So we bring in Phil Maton, Jorge Soler, Dylan Carlson returns, and we trade and extend Geraldo Perdomo. What do we think of that offseason? $17 million in available budget, so we could have done another extension of this sort. Luis Robert would be the next guy to look at. I don't know what that number's going to be, but I can find out immediately. I'm thinking 25 or more in this. We're just barely crossing 20. I mean, I don't know why the contract demands in this game are so team-friendly. I love playing the show, but I really wish they'd give this area of the game more attention to make franchise more competitive years into your series. And so you have to make harder decisions, and it's not easy to fit everybody under your budget. I think that makes for a better experience when there are tougher decisions. But anyway, my goal was to get this team in better position to compete this year, and I think that we've done that. There's more outfield insurance. There is a difference maker at shortstop. And what's nice also is that we're used to having Tommy there as a switch hitter, and Perdomo is a switch hitter. So we upgraded the experience we were used to. Now let's see how the top prospects look now. They've got Drew Jones as the number 1 at the bigs with the Diamondbacks. Richie Courtney is number 2. And a new addition here, we've got Rolando Benitez, the starting pitcher that we selected in the past draft in the 3rd round. He has 93 potential and 40 points away from reaching it. Jesus Fernandez also debuts pretty highly here at 14. Then we got Lesko, who won't be a prospect on here for long. And it seems that Benny Matsumoto has fallen significantly down these standings. We still have Steve Padilla. Oh, there's Benny at 10. I just missed him. And here's the top prospects in the organization. Rolando Benitez, Benny Matsumoto, Jesus Fernandez, all a ways out, but they're the best. Lesko's at the bigs. Padilla, honestly, Padilla's only far out because of the defense, and we just have good outfielders. We'll see if he ends up getting traded at some point. Augustin Garcia, teams just don't really value the low-rated prospects, and I don't think they should if they're like 4 or 5 years away, because there's still plenty of bust potential there. I'm excited to see this team in action, though. I've been hungry to get back on here ever since we lost to the Reds in that playoff series. And I'm thinking, like, I have to just improve my approach against good pitchers a little bit, be more patient early in counts, and be more selective. I think I get caught in this loop a lot of times in those games where they're really good at hitting the bottom of the zone. And so when they eventually throw one more belt high, it looks like a pitch up. It's just up from where they're usually throwing it. I'm not really getting the pitch I want up in the zone that you can do damage on. Surely we had some bad batted ball luck in that series, but I felt like I still could have done a lot better than the 4 runs we scored. And hopefully now we've got a team that can get out of the wild card the next time we make it. I'm most excited about the completeness of the offense. Having Perdomo, Arenado, Robert, Donovan, just across the board, this lineup is pretty stacked. My concerns with this team are Arenado and Contreras maybe regressing. They're both 34 and 35 years old. So that's very much in the cards. Brendan Donovan then is our next oldest position starter at 30. I don't think his game will slow down because it's not predicated on power. And then I also wonder about the starting rotation. Tink Hence was Rookie of the Year last year. Obviously, we hope he maintains that standard and develops beyond 73. He pitched great last year. So there's his sophomore year, combined with now a new face in Dylan Lesko. And if this move doesn't go well, we might have to go outside the organization if we want to stay as competitive as we were last year. I'm still feeling pretty good about the bullpen, but it's a big year for Ryan Helsley, last year under contract with us. And then we got players like Mason Miller and Phil Maton that should just give us a really strong, late inning approach. Jojo Romero's been excellent for a really long time. Maybe a guy like Matt Moore slips, but I think we have enough good to outweigh any of the slumps we could see. Maybe a guy like Hunter Harvey even bounces back, but we have enough to where we're not even needing that necessarily. What do you think, everybody? Year 4 in the Cardinals franchise is coming up. Hoping to put out some fun content in this series as we continue to chase a title with the Redbirds. Thank you all for watching today's episode. Hope you enjoyed the off-season. There is more on the way. Please leave a like, subscribe to the channel. Take care, and I'll see you all next time.